Title: The Day My World Crumbled, When I Found Out My Husband Was Living a Lie. Part 1. The Perfect Life, The Hidden Truth. My name is Claire. I'm 34 years old. For 12 years, I believed in the fairy tale, the kind you see in movies, the kind that feels too good to be true, but you hope it's real anyway. I met Mark when I was 22 in college. He was charismatic, brilliant, and somehow he made me feel like the only woman in the world. We moved fast. 6 months later, engaged. 2 years after that, we were married in a small ceremony surrounded by family and friends. Our life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. A cozy apartment in the city, weekend trips to the countryside, laughter filling every room. We dreamed of building a family, a home, a future that would last forever. For a long time, everything seemed to go according to plan. Mark worked hard as a software engineer, often pulling late nights but always making sure to kiss me goodbye in the morning and hold me tight before sleep. I was a graphic designer, freelancing from home, growing my career slowly but surely. We had our ups and downs, like any couple. Disagreements over money, tiredness from demanding jobs, moments of silence when words seemed pointless. But nothing that threatened the foundation we built. Or so I thought. Then came the subtle signs. Late meetings he never mentioned. Phone calls he hurried to end. Passwords changed without explanation. I told myself I was imagining things. That stress was getting to me, that maybe I was just scared of change. But fear has a way of whispering truths you don't want to hear. One evening, Mark left his laptop open while he stepped out to take a call. I was curious, no, desperate, to know what was happening behind the closed doors of our marriage. The screen was filled with messages, not from a colleague or a client, but from someone named Lena. Words like, "I miss you, can't wait to see you, this weekend will be ours." My heart stopped. I didn't want to believe it. The woman was someone I had never met, someone who was the other woman in a life I thought was mine. I closed the laptop quickly, trying to breathe. I wanted to scream, to ask him why, to tell him I'd seen it all, but I was frozen. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, every smile, every touch, every "I love you," wondering if it was all a lie. The next morning, I pretended nothing had changed. We went about our routine. I made coffee, packed his lunch, smiled when he kissed me goodbye. But inside, a storm was raging. I decided to follow the trail, carefully, quietly. I checked his messages when he was in the shower. I found photos of them together, secret dinners, stolen weekends, a life built in shadows. And worst of all, I found plans. Plans to leave me, plans to start over with her. My world shattered. Weeks passed. I felt myself breaking, shattered pieces of trust scattered on the floor. I tried to hold on, to fix what was broken, but every lie was a crack too wide to mend. Every secret was a wound too deep to heal. One night, I confronted him. He didn't deny it. He said he was sorry. But sorry wasn't enough. That was the night I packed a bag. I left the home we built together. I left the dreams we dreamed. I left the man I once loved. But the story doesn't end there. Because sometimes life writes endings you never expect. And sometimes the greatest pain is not betrayal, but loss. Part 2, Breaking Point and the Final Goodbye. I left that night carrying nothing but a suitcase and a heart full of broken dreams. The city's cold streets felt cruel, unforgiving, but at least they were honest, unlike him. For weeks, I stayed with a friend. I didn't answer his calls or messages. I needed space to breathe, to think, to grieve. But grief has a weight that sinks into your bones. Every memory stabbed me. Every song on the radio reminded me of us. Every familiar smell, every corner of our apartment whispered his name and the silence he left behind. I fought with myself. Could I forgive him? Could I trust again? Could I find a way back to the woman I used to be before the lies? I started therapy. I journaled. I ran miles I never thought I could. I cried more than I'd ever cried in my life, but even healing has its limits. One evening, a call came through that twisted the knife further. Mark had been in a car accident, a drunk driver, a sudden swerve, no chance to react. They said he was unconscious but stable, no brain injury, just broken bones. I didn't know what to feel: anger, relief, guilt. I went to the hospital, heart pounding, hands shaking. When I saw him, pale, hooked to machines, fragile, the man I once loved and hated all at once, I felt a wave of something I didn't expect. Forgiveness, or maybe just sorrow. He woke up days later, eyes searching, confused. I sat by his bed, silent. Words felt useless. The life we built was broken beyond repair. Weeks passed. He struggled with rehab. I struggled with memories. One night, after a therapy session, I found a note slipped under my door. "Claire, I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you. If I could turn back time, I would. Please find happiness, even if it's without me." I never replied, because some apologies are too late. One rainy morning, he called. "I'm coming home, I want to try." But I knew. Some bridges, once burned, can never be rebuilt. The day he was discharged, I met him at the door. We looked at each other, strangers bound by a painful past. "I can't do this," I said quietly. He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I understand." We parted ways that day. Months later, I moved to a new city, a fresh start. I kept the pain locked away, buried beneath work and new routines. But grief is a shadow that follows you. One evening, I got a call that shattered my fragile peace. Mark was dead, another accident. This time, no chance to say goodbye, no chance to heal, no chance to forgive fully. I stood alone in the rain again, not just mourning a husband, but mourning a life that could have been, a love that ended in heartbreak. And the woman I was before it all fell apart, lost forever. The end.